Have you ever noticed that the better an employee you become, the more easily you can be replaced? Nietzsche wouldn't be surprised. In the corporate theater, excellence is rarely a reward. It's an expectation. The system doesn't value those who fit in perfectly. It values those who can be replaced without causing a ripple. Being a good employee has become synonymous with being predictable, obedient, and disposable. And while you dedicate yourself to becoming irreplaceable, the system has already trained others to take your exact place. If you believe that effort and loyalty are enough to guarantee recognition, you may already be falling into the trap. Nietzsche would warn us, only those who dare to question the role assigned to them can truly avoid becoming a disposable piece. There is a cruel truth, hidden beneath speeches about meritocracy and loyalty, camouflaged in the hallways of companies, among codes of conduct and motivational slogans. The more dedicated you are, the easier it is to replace you. At first glance, this statement seems absurd, almost paradoxical. Isn't commitment supposed to generate recognition, stability, and respect? Isn't dedication the real engine behind professional advancement, the key to becoming indispensable? Perhaps that's why so many people keep falling, generation after generation, into the same trap. A trap built on seductive promises and rewards that rarely arrive. You enter a company filled with enthusiasm. You take on every task as a personal challenge. You work beyond what is expected, deliver before deadlines, and accept extra demands without hesitation. You're the one who never complains about extra hours, who smiles under pressure, who is always polite, follows the rules, and is loyal to the position and the company's mission. And ironically, it is precisely for these reasons that you become invisible, not as someone irreplaceable, but as someone predictable. The system loves predictability. Predictability is synonymous with control. What can be predicted can be manipulated, fitted in, and discarded quietly. And control in this context is the opposite of individual value. The more controllable you are, the less valuable you become as a person, though you may still be valuable as a part of the machine. The difference is subtle, but devastating. Friedrich Nietzsche understood, perhaps better than anyone, the subterranean mechanisms of power. He saw how modern society had traded the old iron shackles for invisible chains of discourse. Obedience is no longer imposed by force, but by persuasion. No longer commanded, but coaxed. No longer extracting blood, but energy, time, and dreams. Nietzsche called this phenomenon the slave morality, a morality that glorifies obedience, humility, self-denial, and resignation. A morality that teaches everyone that their submission is their salvation. That convinces the weak that being weak is a virtue, that being flexible is noble, that not confronting is a sign of wisdom. This morality, despite the centuries, remains alive and vibrant within corporations. It breathes every day through emails, meetings, and performance reviews. It lives in corporate mantras like, put the company above all else, be flexible, adapt, do more with less. Those who internalize these maxims believe they are on the right path, convinced that sincere effort will one day be rewarded, that loyalty will be recognized, that hard work is a passport to merit. But the system does not reward loyalty. It rewards usefulness. And usefulness, unfortunately, is temporary. Within this logic, a good employee is useful only until the moment their cost outweighs their value to the machine. At that point, all your dedication, years of life, and family sacrifices become cold lines in a spreadsheet. And then you become disposable. Pause for a moment and consider, why are so many competent professionals fired while others, clearly less qualified, survive the corporate game of musical chairs? The problem, more often than not, is not a lack of technical skill. It's a lack of political strategy. Those who believe that ethics, commitment, and discipline alone are enough to secure their place are playing by rules the system does not respect. The system doesn't just want those who do their jobs well. It wants people who know how to navigate the game of interests, identify where power lies, negotiate, refuse, propose. The system appreciates those who know how to respect, but it values even more those who know how to position themselves. And those who only know how to say yes, who only follow orders, who only obey hierarchies, are doomed to invisibility. This is the ideal profile to be replaced, not because it's bad, but because it's predictable. And the predictable is easy to swap out. The more you adapt, the cheaper you become. The more you give of yourself, the easier it is to replace you. The more you remain silent, the faster you disappear. This cycle repeats itself generation after generation. It is the eternal return of the exemplary employee, always waiting for recognition, always ignored when the system has already extracted enough. Nietzsche warned that traditional morality is a slow-acting poison, transforming the strong into the weak, the creative into the obedient, and the individual into the herd. In the corporate world, this transmutation happens every day. Talent gives way to the norm. Individuality dissolves into conformity. Brilliant professionals are convinced that the reward is for those who remain steadfast, patient, and dedicated. They ignore the fact that the system does not exist to reward merit, but to optimize resources. And resources, whether human or not, are replaced when they no longer serve the central objective, maximizing efficiency at the lowest possible cost. How? Many fathers and mothers have devoted decades to the same company, believing they were indispensable, only to be coldly dismissed when a newer generation, cheaper and more willing to sacrifice hours for less pay, came along. How many exemplary professionals have watched less competent colleagues rise quickly, simply because they better understood the dynamics of power, knew how to make themselves noticed, and weren't afraid to disagree, negotiate, or take risks? How many continue to work with seriousness, only to realize, day after day, that their projects have vanished, their opinions have been ignored, their ideas appropriated by others, and often, those who take the credit don't even understand the real value of what was done. This isn't injustice. It's by design. The system does need good employees, yes. It needs decent, serious, responsible people. Those who keep the machine running, who ensure everything works. But the system does not need to elevate them. It only needs to keep them in the right place. Serving, silent, predictable. One of the greatest corporate lies, and perhaps one of the most dangerous, is this: those who do the right thing will eventually be recognized. The reality is different. Recognition rarely goes to those who deserve it. It goes to those who know how to position themselves, who understand the game, who know how to use the rules in their favor, and often to those who master the art of being seen. While you believe your hard work speaks for itself, others are speaking for you, occupying spaces, claiming credit, building reputations. Often, recognition is not a reward for the quality of work, but for the ability to appear, to negotiate, to maneuver. Here lies the final irony. You work yourself to death, thinking you're gaining trust, when in reality, you're becoming invisible. The more you adapt, the less prominence you have. The more you avoid conflict, the less voice you possess. The more you deliver, the more normalized you become. And when the time comes for the system to no longer need you, your exit is swift and without ceremony. No drama, no emotional speeches, just a formal notice, an impersonal email, a bureaucratic dismissal, as if you had never even been there. Eduardo worked for 15 years at a major technology company. He started out young, eager to grow, and from the beginning, he was the first to arrive and the last to leave. He received internal awards, symbolic recognitions, but was never promoted. His dedication was unquestionable. He was the one who took on undesirable tasks, who covered for absent colleagues, who avoided conflict. When new leadership arrived, bringing promises of modernization, Eduardo showed flexibility, learned new tools, took courses, all on his own initiative. Yet, in the next round of layoffs, he was among the first on the list. His departure was quick. A brief call from HR, a formal thank you. No colleague dared to question it. In his place, someone less experienced was hired, but with superior political skills and a more visible alignment with the new management. Eduardo was left confused, not for lack of merit, but for lack of understanding the game. He didn't know when to say no, when to position himself, when to be seen not just as a resource, but as someone who influences the environment. This story is real, and it repeats itself in different forms in thousands of companies every day. Nietzsche said that slave morality is born from resentment. The resentful cannot exercise their power in the world, so they create values that justify their impotence. Obedience, submission, waiting for recognition. These are ways of denying one's own creative potential. At work, this translates into the employee who shrinks back, who waits for their effort to be noticed, who accepts unfair tasks in the hope of being remembered in the future. But life and the system rarely rewards those who wait. They reward those who act, who take responsibility for their own destiny, who turn their work into a means of creating value, not just serving. Nietzsche suggests that true freedom begins with the refusal to accept imposed values. One must ask, what, in fact, has value for me? What am I creating, other than simply feeding a machine? How many times have you done more than was asked and still been ignored? How many years have you invested in something that brought no real growth? How many promises have you heard and never seen fulfilled? In how many situations did you believe that merely adapting, doing what was asked, staying predictable would earn you a place in the sun? And more importantly, are you working to build your life, your story, your path? Or are you just sustaining a system that doesn't recognize your true value? Working hard has never been the problem. The problem is believing that, by itself, it is enough. The world has changed. The system has changed. What remains is the need not just to work, but to question, where is your energy going? What are you building? And for whom? Nietzsche would say that the first stage of freedom is realizing you have been programmed, that your beliefs about success, merit, sacrifice, and work have been shaped by a culture that profits from your belief. Liberating yourself is to begin asking, what is the price of my effort? What is the reward I am seeking? And does it make sense to me? What am I willing to sacrifice? And why? True success may begin with a single gesture. Saying no to what diminishes you. Saying yes to what makes you grow, even if it means leaving your comfort zone. Taking risks. Breaking patterns. In the end, the only question that matters is this: what is my own worth? And that answer, no one can give you. Work with purpose. Question your beliefs. Be strategic. Value your energy. The system will keep trying to convince you that predictability is a virtue, that serving is enough, that just doing things right is enough to earn the reward. But only you can decide what is worthwhile. Only you can choose where to invest your life. Freedom and true success begins when you understand that you are not here to be just another predictable piece on the board. You are here to create, to transform, to challenge, to build your own value. And this journey has no boss, no manual, no external recognition. Only you can walk it.